Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races and try to isolate some aspect of the race that might be a path to finding the winner. Well, a mixed meeting at Sha Tin on Sunday this week. The first race we're going to take a look at is race 1, and our winning factor is the debutant. So this is a Class 4, a really interesting race actually. I think there's good depth to this. There are 8 debutants here who all have at least some ability. They're going to win races. Smart Golf and Viva Firecracker have stood out in their trial performances. And we also have horses who've already performed well in races, like last start winner Sight Hermoso, and the horse who ran third to him there, Cap Liner. And I think that Sight Hermoso is the key race form that we have for this. So let's take a look at how that race was run and won. It's race 161 in the current season, gate 4 brown and white colours, Sight Hermoso. And next to him, gate 3 in green colours is Cap Liner. And Cap Liner gets a bump out of the gates, and Lyle Hewitson decides not to continue to press forward, but positions him a line further back than Sight Hermoso and follows him through the race. Now, the leaders run along initially as some of them charge across to the outside, but then the pace slackens in mid-race, and it should mean that the leaders kick on a bit, but they don't. They can't go on when it gets serious. And despite being on the wrong side of the track, Sight Hermoso is able to run on, win the race, and Cap Liner gets to the line well, running third, both still out in that slower part of the track. Now, I've mentioned that 8 of the 14 runners here are having their first starts, and I would say all 8 of them are going to win races, but of course some have trialled better than others. And I think the key barrier trialists here are Viva Firecracker and Smart Golf, and they lined up in the same fast heat on November 18. So we're going to take a look at how they went. And gate 10 is Viva Firecracker in the red and dark blue, the old Viva Pataka colours, and Smart Golf also in red colours. He's the horse with the white face, and they're the best 2 out of the gates, with Smart Golf quickly taking the lead, and he bowls along strongly in front. Matthew Poon happy to lead, and then happy to just ask a little of him in the latter stages, but he's really not flat out and still running fast times with more than 2 lengths back to Viva Firecracker. So both excellent trials there. Obviously Smart Golf the better of them. The overall time there was fast, the sectional times were very fast, and I think that's going to be a strong trial to look for horses out of. Now, of course, training a horse to win at its first start in a race is a particular skill that not all trainers have, and given that we're in November and it's this middle sort of 3 or 4 months of the season where we do get a lot of unraced horses turning up and starting their careers, I thought it might be useful to have a look at the figures of the current trainers when it comes to this kind of a situation. Now, firstly here you can see the last 5 years plus what we've had of this season of how trainers have gone with debutants in Class 4, that is, horses having their first start. And I think most people know champion trainer John Size is really excellent in this area. He's built his career really on this and trains a lot of winners in this situation, and it's one of those rarities that he's even ahead of the high market expectations on his horses. But there are other skilled trainers in this scenario, and Frankie Law, he's right up there, leading on strike rate and is also ahead of market expectations. But that table shows you all of their debutants, and obviously they send out a lot of debutants with low expectations. So I thought it might be more useful, again, to take a look at how trainers go in Hong Kong with horses having their first start, which are expected to run well. That is at $11 or shorter in the market, and that does paint us a slightly different picture. When you narrow it down to that group of horses, the best example of the difference is David Hall. Now, on the previous table, he had 69 debutants for 5 winners. But here you see the ones expected to run well, and now he has only 14 runners, but still 5 winners. So his debutants that are well in the betting should always be a big watch. Size is right up the top of the list once again with Hall and Danny Shum, but Frankie Law also very prominent once again. So that concentrates my attention on Smart Golf. Off that good trial, he's going to go around one of the horses hard in the market in this race, but the negative that I can find for him is the barrier. Because we've seen what good speed he has, I would expect that he'd still go looking for the lead, and that's been the case in most of his trials, but he will have to be used up a little bit from gate 4 to get across, while the horse we saw chasing him in that trial has drawn a little better, Viva Firecracker, and the two with race form that we highlighted, Capliner and Side Hermoso, have gone from the wrong side of the draw last time, where they raced very well, to the right side of the draw this time. But the tip from me in race 1 is Smart Golf. His winning factor, the debutant. Now, if this horse had drawn high in the barriers, I think he would have been pretty close to a good thing. The inside draw is going to make it a bit more competitive. It brings him back to the others, but he has got a high level of natural ability, and his trainer Frankie Law has shown that he does pretty well with these horses having their first start. For the other race on the card, I'm going all the way to the finish. That's race 10, and a winning factor here, the draw. So this is Class 3, 1600 metres, and a race where some talented horses with aspirations towards the 4-year-old series races do look to dominate things. Beauty Bolt, he's in good form. Uranus Star did a decent job to win at Happy Valley last start. Dazzling Fit has a wide gate but plenty of ability, and down in the weights, Sky Vino and Blazing Wukong have good claims. And one of the two horses I really want to highlight here is Uranus Star. Now, he only scrambled home at his second Hong Kong start at Happy Valley, but I want to show you the mitigating circumstances that made that a better win than it looked. This is race 159. He's in gate 2 at pink and white colours, and Uranus Star jumps just okay, and there's a line of horses early, but you can see that the others in that line don't really want the front, so Zach Purton takes the initiative and goes to the lead. Now, it does look momentarily like he's going to get a very soft lead indeed, but nobody told Uranus Star. He wants to go faster and then fights with Purton, running through the second section around 4 lengths faster than average. In the third section, Zach finally gets him to come back a bit, but he doesn't get much peace as at the 600 metres, the horse running second is starting to come up and make his bid. So he does plenty of work through mid-race. By the 200 metres, Uranus Star is out of chips. Here come the finishers late, but he clings on gamely. So yes, unimpressive to the eye, but I think having to spend all his petrol basically in that middle 800 metres really told on the horse late in the piece, and I think there was more merit to that than the winning margin would suggest. So the other horse I want to take a look at here is Blazing Wukong, and we don't have to go back far at all for his most recent performance. It was last weekend over 1400 metres. Race 207, he's in gate 11 with black and orange colours, and Blazing Wukong begins okay, but jockey Andrea Atzeni is aware of the speed inside him and doesn't have much interest in going forward early. But in the context of this race, that does turn out to be a problem. Now, Lyle Hewitson wins the start on the horse in yellow, riding together, and the winning of the race is really the second split, walking them through from the 1200 metres to the 800 metres in very slow time, immediately creating a problem for anything which has gone back. Blazing Wukong, well, he's third last. He's got plenty to give when they straighten up for home, but also plenty to do. He runs on well late, but the race is over. Now, he comes back to the races again after only 7 days, but if you think back to the beginning of the season, I did a segment on trainers who are good at backing horses up. Ricky Yu is one of the best Blazing Wukong's trainer, so I'm not concerned at all about that, and I think he gets some benefits this time on the map. I'll be surprised, in fact, if we don't see Blazing Wukong much closer this week. He's got a draw, the slightly softer tempo of a 1600 metre race, and I think he'll be able to sit handy behind what looks an average, but at least more consistent pace than he got last week. The way Uranus Star pulled last time, I guess he's a possible leader, but I wouldn't be surprised if his rider is looking to get some cover instead and trying to relax him. We still have some regular front runners though in Tourbillon Prince and possibly Yunlong Elite out wide, and quite a few likely looking for positions in the first half dozen. So I think there's enough there to suggest we'll get an average tempo. So in race 10, the tip is Blazing Wukong. His winning factor, the draw. Now, he's always a horse that has shown a bit of ability, still only lightly raced, and I think the step up to 1600 metres and the good draw, we're going to see him much better positioned this week than he was last week. And as I mentioned, his trainer Ricky Yu, very good at backing horses up quickly and getting good results. Well, that's it from the winning factor this week. Good luck on Sunday. We'll see you next time.